Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina, and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. Now, as you see by today's title, I have more Halloween DIYs for you that you can use with Dollar Tree items, but you must buy this air dry clay because it works wonders. If you are new here, I hope you stick around by clicking that big red subscribe button down below. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember to do all of the YouTube-y things down below, and let's just jump right into it and let's art today. First DIY of the day, I have this glass jar. Now you can use any type of glass jar that you want. Even Dollar Tree sells all types of glass jars. Next, I have my air dry clay. I picked this one up at Walmart. I believe it was around $8. Now, disclaimer, I am not a professional clay maker or user, so I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff I'm not doing correctly. However, it did turn out really well for me. The first thing I needed to do was take just a big chunk of that air dry clay, knead it a little bit, and then place it right on top of my glass bottle. Now, this process does not have to be pretty. In some areas, I was a little bit thick with the clay, but I'm using my thumb to push down onto the glass so I thin it out and it can adhere to the glass as nicely as I can get it. And other places I was thin, and I noticed when it does dry, it does tend to crack. This could be an operator error because maybe I'm not doing something correctly. However, I didn't mind at all because it just added to the look that I was going for. I am going for an old weathered look, so the more grungy it looks, the better it is, because it's going to go with the rest of my potion bottles and witchy things. So I continue adding clay until I got the desired look that I was going for. I didn't cover the whole bottle completely, but I made the edges look like it was kind of dripping down. Next, I was taking this little tool here and I'm cutting into the clay. I want this bottle to have a skull-like face in it, so I am using this to dig out and make my face. Now, you don't really necessarily need this tool. You can use the back of a paintbrush. You can also use a spoon or even just your hands. I'm just trying to make the eyes, and I'm going for a creepy look, so I'm trying to make it look as sinister as possible. To help me shape my eye, I do have a little cup of water over to the side where I'm just dipping my fingers and smoothing out the edges. This really does help make the shapes that I want to, and to smooth out any areas that I don't like. Then I will continue doing the same thing for the rest of the face. I'm making the other eye and pushing it to where I like it, trying to make it as creepy as possible, and then smoothing it out with some water on my fingers. Now, I do take a paper towel and wipe off the excess onto the glass because I kind of want the glass to be see-through still, and I can add something into it later if I wanted to. Once I was satisfied with the eyes, I then went on and cut out the holes for the nose portion of the skull. Once again, I'm just using that little tool and then using my fingers to push out the rest. Next, I'm making these little squiggly lines on the bottom of the edges to make it look like the skull's teeth, and also like if that clay was dripping down, just to make it more spooky. You can design this however you like. Their possibilities are pretty much endless. Once again, I'm using that tool to clean up any extra places where I don't like, and then taking more water on my finger and smoothing out and removing any clay that I don't want there. Then I take a paper towel once again and wipe off the excess so the glass is pretty much clean. Another added detail I wanted to do was add a big crack on the top of the bottle, and I'm just using that tool once again to make that crack. Now, yes, I did mention it does crack on its own, but I do not mind because it just adds to the look. Then lastly, for the clay portion, I wanted to add some clay to the cap of my bottle. Now I'm just adding it to the cap, and with no type of style or anything, I'm just piling it on and making it as bumpy as possible so that it looks more natural with the glass. I did leave it overnight to completely dry, and as you see here, it started to naturally crack all over the place, which I did not mind. Now, I do know that if you add more water to it, the clay does get moist again, and you can try to rub it out. And that's what happened when I started to add some paint to it. Now, I wasn't sure if I didn't leave it to dry completely long enough. I did leave it overnight. However, this just helped out my sculpture look a little bit better. I first go in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Vintage Mustard. And I'm just adding a nice generous layer right on top of my little clay area right here. Once I was done with that, I went in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Java, which is just a dark brown, and I start adding some depth to my little potion bottle here, and I'm just going in all of the cracks where it would naturally be darkened. Lastly, I went in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Castle, which is just a medium light gray, and I'm adding it on top of everything so it just creates more layered effect and creepiness onto my bottle. This is how my little potion bottle turned out. I absolutely love it. It is kind of creepy. Now, I did leave it empty because I wasn't too sure of what I should put in it. If you have any ideas what I should put in it, leave me a comment down below. Moving right into our next DIY, I have this bigger glass bottle in my crafting stash, and I wanted to make another type of potion bottle. This time I'm going for a nice cleaner look. So I take a bunch of clay and I'm kneading it into my hand and then trying to flatten it out because I want this to be a snake wrapped around the bottle. Now I did add little slits at the bottom of it so that it can hold like a suction cup. I remember doing this when I was in, I believe, middle school. That is supposed to help it. But once again, like I said, I'm not a professional clay maker, so I could be doing this wrong. I did have to work in little sections and then connecting them by smoothing out the clay onto itself. This just helped out me. Once again, I'm not really sure if I was supposed to lay out the whole thing or work in little sections, but like I said, it worked out for me. This is how it looks after I have the whole snake wrapped around the whole bottle. I absolutely loved how it turned out, and I let this dry completely overnight. Once it was completely dried, here's how it looks. Now, some of my clay did crack to where I thought it was going to fall off of the jar, so I did add more clay right on top of it to secure it in place. Next, I want to paint it in my Rust-Oleum flat spray paint outside, so I did give it about 2 coats of that spray paint. After the spray paint had time to completely dry, I realized I missed some areas with the spray paint, so I will cover it using my acrylic basic paint in just regular black. I have this big old jar of apple barrel that I will use, and then I want to paint the snake in this silver color so that the snake stands out. So first I'm going in with that black acrylic paint and I'm just touching up all the areas that I missed. It was usually at the bottom of the jar because I didn't flip it upside down and paint that area. It was a really windy day, so I couldn't have it in a weird position. Next, I'm going in with my silver acrylic paint and I'm painting the snake only. I want the jar to be a flat black and then the snake to be the focal point and the standout point. So I first go in with the silver and I make sure to paint all of the areas, trying to be as careful as possible not to hit the jar. After I was done painting the snake silver, I wanted to add another depth of color, so I went in with my bronze basic acrylic paint and I just added that right on top of the silver. It really gave that extra touch. Once the paint had time to dry, I have some of these labels left over for my Temu haul, and I'm just going to find the one that says snake venom and add it to my jar. Now I'm trying to find the best placement. I should have probably added this on maybe I don't know, but I wanted this to look like it was wrapped underneath the snake's tail. So I'm adding the label and cutting off the excess, trying to cut as closely as I can to the snake's tail. Now, as I was pulling off the sticker, it did rip up some of the paint, so I had to go back and touch that up. Then I'm going to take the other half and put it below the snake's tail once again, so it looks like the snake is on top of the label. I'm just cutting it down to size, and since these are stickers, all I had to do was stick it on and press down firmly. The last few things I needed to do was add some paint to the snake's eyes. I painted it using my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Imperial Red, just so that the snake looks a little bit scary. And then I'm adding a snake's tongue right onto the bottle. Then lastly, I just needed to add the cork in. As you see here, I'm just pressing it down, but I do go back and add some hot glue around the rim so that the cork is nice and secured, and that completes this DIY. I absolutely loved how this potion bottle turned out. It is super cool, and I just love that the snake is wrapped around it, and it will be a great addition to the rest of my potion bottles. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. My next DIY, this one is super easy and simple to do, and it would be perfect for a tier tray or somewhere little you just want to add a flare to. So as you see here, I took a nice piece of clay and I'm sticking it down to this little terracotta pot that I purchased from Michael's. I believe it was like $1.19 that was on sale. Next, I'm taking another big piece of clay and I am molding it to my hand and trying to pull it out as much as I can and give it a little bend. I'm trying to make it look like those sandworms from Beetlejuice. I seen this on Pinterest and I had to try to make it, but I believe the one that they made was much bigger and I'm trying to make a mini size. Once I have the desired look with the little sandworms, I did place it down so that it can hold its shape just a little bit, and I started to make more. I only made 2 really long ones and then I made 2 really short ones. Once I had all of them completed and to my liking, I then added it right into the flower pot. Now these aren't completely dried, so as you see here, they're bending over some, but I have a way to fix that. I'm just trying to push them in so that they can adhere down to the flower pot. Now in retrospect, it did not adhere down, so I do have to glue it on later, but I was just trying to push down firmly so it can connect to the other clay that was already in the pot. As you see here, I'm using that tool again, trying to push down as far as I can. Since this is really mini, my hands were too big to try to squeeze down in there to make those shapes. Then I just place this over to the side to completely dry, but like I mentioned, to keep those little sandworms in their shape, I'm adding a little bit of tin foil right underneath it so it holds it into place. After it had time to completely dry overnight, it was now time to remove those little tinfoil balls that I put there to hold the sandworm into place. And as I was removing them, as you see here, it popped right off of the little clay piece in the center. So all I did was add a bunch of hot glue to the center of it and then smushed it back into place. I try to be really careful because I didn't want this to break. And then I'm just adding more glue right along the edges of my sandworm so that it will adhere down to the flower pot. I then had to let that sit just for a little while so that the glue had time to dry so that I can start painting. I first go in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White, and I just give it a nice thick layer and trying to get in all the cracks and crevices. Since this is going to be a sandworm, all I'm using is black and white. Next, I'm going in with my black paint, which is really goopy right now, and I make those little stripes all along the sandworm. Now, I do realize that my sandworms aren't perfect. They look a little weird, but it adds to the creepiness to this little flower pot that I just find adorable. I'm just going to continue adding all of the stripes on my sandworm and let it dry completely. After it was dry, I then then went in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Irish Green, and I paint the little terracotta pot and let that dry. After it was done drying, it was still missing a little something, so I went into my crafter stash and I found some reindeer moss that I'm adding right on top of it to hide all of the glue that is in the flower pot. I add more hot glue right on top of it, and I'm just pushing down the moss into the glue so that it would adhere down to it, and this looks absolutely amazing. I loved how it turned out. After this was done, that completes this DIY. Even though this DIY is small, this turned out super cute, and I actually want to make a few more little ones and have it all around a tier tray and throughout my house. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. For our next DIY, if you have been following my channel, you may have seen this DIY before. I just had to add it because it goes with today's theme. Now, I have two of these pumpkin lights from Dollar Tree. They are solar powered, and what I really like is that they have an off and on switch, and all you have to do to charge it is just leave it in the sun. Now, for this DIY, I got the inspiration from At Home Store, where they have these really grumpy pumpkins, and I wanted to make some for my own. And when I saw these at Dollar Tree, I knew they were the perfect fit. So all I did was take some clay and start molding out a face for my pumpkins to try to make it more sinister and grumpy. I'm just adding on the eyelids, pushing down, and once again using some water to smooth out any areas that I do not like, and just keep adding on some of the clay all over this pumpkin, trying to mimic those grumpy pumpkins from At Home. Now, while I am sculpting out the face of my pumpkin, if you happen to be new to my channel and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, I would love for you to be part of our virtual art family here. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If you are enjoying today's content, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel. Remember, if you would like to see further photos of all of the DIYs that are in today's video and past DIYs, I do have other socials. All of the links are down below. And if you have made it this far in the video, I would love for you to put a pumpkin emoji down in the comment section below. And if you don't have a pumpkin emoji, you can always just put out the word pumpkin. So as you just saw, I did scope out the rest of his eyes and his nose, and now I am sculpting out his mouth. I'm just adding clay right on top of the pumpkin, and I'm trying to make it look like his lips are coming out, and then I will keep adding water to smooth everything out. Next, I'm adding a stem right on top, and I'm just trying to twist it to make it look more like a realistic stem. And then once everything was done, I let it dry completely. Now remember, I made two of these pumpkins. After it had time to completely dried, like I mentioned before, this type of clay tends to crack, at least on me, but I don't mind because it gives that creepy look that I'm going for. I'm going to paint the whole entire pumpkin using my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin, and I'm going to add a generous amount. It does help smooth out some of those cracks after the clay has been rehydrated, and then I place this off to the side so it can dry a little bit. Once that was done, I went in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Java, and I start painting on the stem using that color, and then I'm going to add that same color all over my pumpkin. I was really going for a sinister, creepy pumpkin like you saw at home, so I'm just adding it to all of the natural creases and then all of the places where it would be dark. Then I let that dry completely, and that completes this DIY. Here is how both of my pumpkins turned out. I absolutely love them. It actually looks like they have eyes and they are following me. I try to make them look similar but not exactly the same. Like this fellow here has triangle eyes and the other one is more like rounded, and then their stems are different. But what I love most about this DIY is that they light up, especially at night. I have it lit up and it looks like these lights are just following you when you're walking by. As you see here, they are absolutely adorable. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Once again, here is a quick overview of all of the DIYs that were in today's video. I had a blast making each and every one of these. I am really having fun playing with clay, and I'm hopefully trying to get better at it. Maybe I'm not doing something right. Maybe I just need to practice more, but I'm really having fun with it. It is a very messy craft, so if you're not into dirty or sticky things, maybe it isn't the one for you, but you can always wear gloves. Maybe that will help, but this was really fun. I would love to know which one was your favorite out of all of the ones that I've created in today. Let me know down in the comment section below. And while you are there, if you have made it all the way through the video, don't forget to put a little pumpkin emoji or write out the word pumpkin. I would love to see that all down in my comments section. Remember, if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below, totally free. And don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.